This is Alexandra, my fiance, and today we're here at the Beverly Hills Farmers Market shopping for our rehearsal dinner that's actually taking place in 5 weeks. So we just wanted to make sure that we pick the best possible produce so that we have a great, delicious meal for our family and friends to enjoy prior to our wedding weekend.
The rehearsal dinner is very important to us because it's starting off the weekend. Most of our guests are traveling from the East Coast, so we really want to show off where we live. We're excited for them to be able to eat the local produce that we enjoy all the time. Freddie and I actually met in the kitchen, so food is a really big part of our relationship. It's like the one passion that we share together, and it really allows us to connect.
I think my philosophy is very seasonal. I think that things that grow together, go together. Mother Nature gives us direction. I think it's just up to us to really be true to that. I just think the farmer's market gives you the tools in order to create something delicious. I mean, like even today, you're walking around, you see a lot of stone fruit, tomatoes. The sweetness of a stone fruit against the acidity of a tomato is just creates an explosion on your palate.
I would love some peaches.
How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Great. So we're looking to purchase some stone fruit.
Peach season, I've been running peaches since May. We'll go through September.
This is awesome.
It's a lot better. You like this one?
Oh man.
Right?
Yeah, that's good.
There you go.
Thank you so much. Seafood?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do the pasta course with some shrimp. So we're looking for some seafood for to make a pasta dish. So I'm just thinking about some shrimp, maybe some calamari. What would you suggest?
Good choices.
So I think we're gonna get some of these, some padrones, and I think some of these sugar cube melons.
The little guys?
Yeah. So here we have a sugar cube melon. These are actually one of my favorite melons, and pretty much the way that you pick them out is you see the webbing, it's really, really tight, and also you'll feel on the top, pretty much the top and the bottom of the melon, you see how the little dimple, and you just want to feel that it's pretty ripe feeling. And then after you press that in and you smell that, you'll know it's ripe. Nice fragrance.
Mushrooms.
A pound of shiitakes, a pound of the oysters, and these
Pound of yellow.
a pound of the yellow
Okay,
ones.
sounds good.
So we're just looking for some greens for pretty much just like heirloom tomato salad with some stone fruit.
I would personally recommend arugula because I think the spiciness of the arugula will go really
That's
well.
my
with
favorite.
tomatoes.
Awesome.
This tastes like the arugula my no-no used to grow
Really?
in his backyard.
That's awesome.
So peppery.
You want it to be as fresh as your love should be.
Nicely said. I am going to help him. I'm going to be his sous chef. Just for the day, I'll let him boss me around, but normally that's not allowed.
So now we're back in the SCARPETTA kitchen, and I'm going to start preparing the roasted chicken. It's going to be our third course, but it's going to take the longest, so we just want to get it marinated and give it some love before we start cooking it. And Alexandra, if you could start preparing the shrimp and the calamari for the second course.
Yes, chef.
Thank you. So usually I would actually brine a chicken, but in this instance, this is from Rainbow Ranch. It's a no antibiotic chicken, really, really fresh. They actually butchered it on a Friday, so we got this on Sunday, so it's roughly about a day old. If it was any older than that, I would probably brine it just to give it a little bit more tenderness and moisture. I'm gonna make the spice mix. So here we have a little bit of Szechuan peppercorns, a little bit of white pepper, good amount of fennel seeds, and a little bit of black pepper. We're just gonna bring that over to the stove. This one I'm just gonna toast, just start seeing it smoking, pull it off the pan, and then just cool it down on a sizzle pan. For a chicken about this size, about 3.5 pounds, I'm just gonna probably grate 3 cloves of garlic. I love garlic, so I grew up in an actually Latin household, and my father loves garlic. take this with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. So after these spices have been nicely toasted, I'll cool them down on the sizzle pan. And then we'll just put them in a spice grinder and grind them till fine. And I'm just gonna make pretty much add enough till I'm making a paste. The extra virgin olive oil. And that garlic. So basically, I'm gonna take the wings and put it right behind the chicken's head. And then I'll run my fingers underneath the skin. I'm not gonna really spice too much the skin of the chicken. I really wanna come out with a really crispy bird. So if you see, I'm just running my hands inside the chicken like this, even in that thigh meat. It's actually a way my mother used to make this. It's the way she makes the roasted chicken. And every man will always say, nobody can beat my mother's roasted chicken. At least not for me, right?
Not even me.
So I'm gonna take this spice mix and really just massage that spice mix inside that breast. You know, I watched Emerald growing up, and you know, and even now in the kitchen with the cooks, we always talk like Emerald. We'll be like, I don't know if anybody's ever seen Ensigns of Emerald, but he used to be like, oh yeah, babe, oh yeah, babe. Food needs love.
Are you going to be stuffing that with anything?
I might put some thyme right inside the cavity here.
Okay.
Also some of that spice mix I'm putting inside. So now I'm gonna truss the chicken. The reason why you truss the chicken is pretty much that the chicken's held really, really tight and it cooks evenly. So before we place it in the oven, pat that skin really dry, just so that paper towel like this just takes any more of that excess moisture.
Are we drying it to make the skin crispy?
That's the intention. So basically what we're also gonna do, I know this seems like an oxymoron, but we're actually gonna salt it after we dry it. And the reason that I'm doing that is chicken has sugar. Salt draws out sugar. I'm gonna season this with some pepper on top. And then I'm gonna let this sit at room temperature. I'm gonna say probably about a half hour. And there will be moisture when we come back, but it's also gonna help caramelize that chicken breast and ultimately making it crispy. So we're gonna start preparing the heirloom tomato salad with the stone fruit and some sugar cube melons, some beautiful greens that we got yesterday at the market. Our heirloom tomatoes, and one key aspect of heirloom tomatoes is one, you kind of want to buy them pretty ripe. And if you don't buy them ripe, you're gonna want to let them sit out on the counter for a couple of days until they feel semi-soft. You don't want them to get any softer than to this part of your hand. If it feels like that, I think that's pretty ripe. Any other than that, kind of want to stay away from. We're gonna season the melon with some ginger sugar that we actually make in the restaurant. Put a good generous amount of salt. Like I said, we're playing with that spicy, salty contrast. And some chili flake. And just a drizzle extra virgin olive oil. And I'm gonna bring this over to the grill. So here we have our grilled melons, and I think we're gonna cut them into smaller pieces. Right into the bowl. We threw in some fresh herbs into there, a little bit of mint, tarragon, basil. You can put pretty much whatever you want, but I think a nice assortment of herbs really just makes it, again, a nice light touch and very herbaceous. So then we're gonna start with the vinaigrette for this. So we took some aged vinegar, a red wine vinegar that's aged. Put a little bit of salt, a little bit of black pepper. I'm gonna make a little emulsified vinaigrette. So usually vinaigrettes will make a 3-to-1 ratio of 3 parts extra virgin olive oil and 1 part vinegar. You want to actually pour this for me? And this is the pretty much a broken vinaigrette, but we'll just emulsify a little bit so that we can pour it over. That's good. Like, look at that, nicely emulsified. It's not broken. And so we're gonna take the salad, toss in a little bit of salt. Again, just drawing out those sugars. Some black pepper. I wish you guys could smell this at home because it smells delicious. Smell all the herbs, the melon, the caramelization from the melon, even those greens. We're just gonna lightly toss this. So here we have some burrata cheese. And burrata is actually mozzarella that's mixed with cream. So it's a very creamy cheese. I'm just gonna put a little dollop right there. Maybe a little bit more. So the idea behind the portion size of this is like it's a family style dinner. So there'll be a couple of plates around the table where everybody just shares. We're gonna take some extra virgin olive oil. Just coat that beautiful cheese. A little bit of small salt. Take a little bit of cracked black pepper right over. Some peaches. I'm just gonna scatter everything around. We got some of Alex's Nono's arugula, some of that gem lettuce, and as you can see, the vinegar broke again, so I'm just gonna whisk it up again. Get it nicely emulsified. And just lightly drizzle this, lightly toss it. This salad as well is mostly about the vegetables and the tomatoes. I just want a little slight scatter those greens. A little bit more extra virgin olive oil. There you got it. Our heirloom tomato salad, peaches, and some sugar cube melons. So now we're going to start the stracciapreti. Stracciapreti is a ricotta dumpling pretty much dough, and it actually means strangled priest in Italian. We cut little logs about that wide, and we just take the pasta and pretty much go like that kind of a motion. We got a little bit of Chinese long beans. I love these beans. They're just a lot more tender than green beans. Very similar to a green bean, just a little bit more tender. You don't have to cook them that long of a time. So we have put salt in that water. It's heavily salted. We just want to bring out the bright green color in that. Here's our pasta water, and there's one key thing about cooking pasta water. You don't want it to be as salty as the green bean water. You basically want it to taste like a broth. And I know that's kind of up into interpretation, but you're just adding enough salt where you could taste the water if you would. It shouldn't be salty like the sea, but just salted enough. Maybe a little bit more. And one reason we do that a lot is because we use a lot of the pasta water when we cook our pastas. So we're gonna start off the pan, so extra virgin olive oil. You want the pan just slightly heated. Because the idea right here, especially when you're cooking pasta a lot, it's all about layers of flavor. And you have to make sure that every layer you're hitting on point, because like you know in Italian cooking, it's 3 ingredients or less. So we're gonna slowly sweat this out. Then I'm gonna throw in some scallion. You see that the pan's getting a little bit too thick. Just add a little bit more extra virgin olive oil. See the way that I'm working this? Just really off from the heat and just letting that oil get beautifully flavored. And then we picked up some of these cayenne peppers. I like a lot of heat, so we're adding a good amount of these. At this point, I'm gonna drop my pasta. I'm gonna throw a little bit of salt just to extract some of that, like I said earlier, sugar from the vegetables. And over here, I started a pretty simple shrimp stock. We sweated out some of the shrimp shells. We added garlic, good amount of fresh tomato, and we just cooked that for about a half hour. And I'm gonna use this to actually cook, just to add another layer of flavor. From that point, I'm gonna take it off the heat. These green beans should be nicely blanched. I'm gonna add them. And at this point, we're not gonna continue to cook this down. I'm a big believer in cooking pasta with the sauce that you're gonna serve it with. That way, the pasta, the sauce, they almost have no choice but to marry one another. And again, just adding more flavor to that. And we're cooking fresh pasta here, so you're not necessarily looking for al dente texture. It should be toothsome, but not al dente. Only dry pasta, you're gonna get some of that. I'm gonna add that pasta right there. At this point, we're gonna add some of those shrimp, the beautiful Mexico shrimp. And with this stuff, you always wanna put a good amount of extra virgin olive oil, especially with seafood. Whenever we're cooking pasta with seafood, we will never put any kind of cheese. Unless it's maybe burrata or something fresh, just so that it doesn't compromise the freshness of the shrimp. So like something like a Parmigiano, we would never put that inside. As you see, I'm gonna use some of that pasta water again. And right at the end, we're gonna throw some of this calamari. Again, like I said earlier, there's two ways you wanna cook calamari. Either really, really quick or for a stew. Now that's one reason why you don't want to heat up salt the pasta water too much. It's because you're gonna use it to balance out the dish. You know what I mean? You see it getting too thick. You use a little bit of the pasta water, so you don't want never too much salt. And this is looking pretty good. A little bit more extra virgin. Take some of this beautiful basil. So here we have it. There you go, stracciatella. So we just pulled out the chicken from the oven. We're gonna let that rest, like I said, for about 10 minutes. And in the meantime, we're gonna get these potatoes roasted. So before I put that in there, you can see it's all the drippings from the chicken. So we're just gonna lightly toss those potatoes and all that fat. Season it with some salt, some black pepper. I'm gonna throw thyme sticks. And I'm gonna throw those right into the oven. So the next components to this roasted chicken dish is we found some of these beautiful oyster mushrooms at the market yesterday. And another unique thing that the mushroom supplier had was these yellowfoot mushrooms. She says they're very hard to grow, so they're a little bit pricey, but she said they had a nice briny flavor. So I think this is gonna go great with the rest of the potatoes and the peppers. So here we have some shishito peppers. These are Japanese style peppers. They are sometimes, some of them are spicy, some of them are a little sweet, but they are another summer highlight here in California. And then we also have some shiitake mushrooms, and then we also have some corn. So we're gonna go back to the stove and saute all this off. So now we're gonna start cooking all the mushrooms and potatoes. So the potatoes, remember I threw them in the oven? So these have been cooking for about 20 minutes, and they're nicely roasted. So I'm just gonna remove them from the pan. I'm gonna make a little quick gravy out of those drippings. So here we have a little bit of brown chicken stock. We just roast the bones, some mirepoix, cook it for about 6 hours, and then we strain it out. Took a little bit of shallot and garlic. I'm just gonna scrape up any of those brown bits on the bottom. And you're just basically sweating out the shallots and the garlic. I'm gonna throw some of that chicken stock right in there. Just gonna let that simmer for a little bit. Then in these saute pans, we're gonna first starting off by caramelizing our mushrooms. And the key thing about mushrooms is one, you're gonna put it just enough oil where it starts to smoke, and you don't want to overcrowd the pan. You want to saute them, caramelize them. If you put too much, it starts to steam, and it doesn't give the mushrooms the proper caramelization that they deserve. I'll take some of these mushrooms. Same idea, just enough. You want to do these in batches, slowly adding oil as needed. Let's throw some of these peppers in. Once these mushrooms get a nice color, I'm going to add onto this. I'm going to use the same pan to cook off some of that corn. I like to season as I go. It just makes the food taste better. See how beautiful those mushrooms are. Smell the nuttiness, the peppers. It's just like a really nice rustic succotash. I'm gonna add that to that. And I always love to throw shallots and garlic in with vegetables. Like I said, it's another layer. So we put a little bit of olive oil, we're gonna slice the pan towards me a little bit. Just right there, so that you know it's getting properly seasoned, getting properly cooked out. So a little bit of salt so the moisture comes out, a little bit more pepper, a little chili flake. So we're just gonna finish this with some basil. And there you have it. Our summer succotash with shishito peppers, corn, mushrooms, and potatoes. So we're gonna break this bird down, and we're gonna start by removing it from the breast. Just take some of these potatoes, and we'll make it look somewhat fancy. You can see how juicy this chicken is, and I didn't even have to brine it. And then we just took some of those pan drippings I was reducing before, and we just strained it through a fine mesh sieve or chamois. Have some of that sauce right over it. And there you go, our roasted chicken with summer succotash.
It was awesome. Great job.
Thank you.